Oh, who can think of something clever? We forgot about that part.
Hey, how
Uh,
comfortable are you with audio visual? Because I'm feeling 20% confident right now.
let's do this in five, four, three.
Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, huh? That lettuce, gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, huh? That lettuce, huh? Focused all on the check, yeah. All I want is lettuce, yeah. Just give me the lettuce, yeah. Just give me the
Let us
lettuce.
heads. We are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. And tonight, yes, tonight, no daytime potting. So that's going to be a challenge for us dads. Even our guest is the dad having to do the nighttime routine. You got Goldie, you got Jewel coming from Athens. Jewel, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good. Two kids, they're both asleep. I got football on. We got Garrett on to talk golf course maintenance, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it's funny. We're jumping into kids already, and our Shane Bacon pod released today. I don't know when this pod's going to come out, and I loved it. Objectively, it was a great golf convo. But I realized, like, man, a third of the time we talked about kids and golf stories, so I could see a lot of people rolling their eyes. But man, I've been through the ringer this weekend. I got my 3-year-old broke a TV with intentionality behind it. Tonight, my 6-year-old, he's on a steroid because he's been having an ear problem. Doctor, look, doctor said don't give him this medicine at night. I missed his dose this morning and I gave it to him at like 5:30 tonight. Literally, the kid went full Rain Man and like recited. He ranked like every food or drink he's ever had for the last 2 hours. And my wife's like, "You're gonna go do a podcast tonight? He ain't going to bed." So I had to barter with him, let him take the pad to bed tonight. What are we doing this evening? So there's some context I want to cover before we bring on our guests. So we were recently hosted out at Green Island Country Club in Columbus, Georgia. Bottom line up front, we're going to talk about the course throughout the pod, but super fun golf course in excellent condition. I truly mean it, probably some of the best greens we've seen in the last few years. And then tee to green, some really cool features. And our guest today is gonna he has some insight in the hows and whys that is, and also the club super friendly, super welcoming, cool vibe, good food. There's nothing wrong with that, and a lot of history and a lot of character. So it's going to be fun to kind of go through our topic tonight and be able to use the golf course as a catalyst to kind of guide some of the conversation. How this all came about was a couple months ago. We did a project on a golf course and we got some engagement from a Green Island golf club or Green Island Country Club agronomy page on Instagram. And I click it, and it was pretty big. I don't know, 6, 7,000 followers. They weren't following a bunch of people back, so it wasn't one of these Instagram games. And I started looking through their stuff, and I'm like, whoa, this is one of the coolest golf pages that I feel like I've seen on Instagram. So shot him a message, went back and forth. And here a couple months later, we get hosted out on the course. We chummed it up a little bit, and today we decided to kind of do two birds with one stone, right? We love talking our golf travels, and we get to do that a little bit, but we also get to do it with some intentionality. That intentional word is back on the docket, to where we're going to be talking about like what does it actually maintaining a golf course look like? So this is gonna be a fun one tonight. I'm very much looking forward to that. So let's jump right into it. So let us heads. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast superintendent of Green Island Country Club and the brainchild behind the agronomy IG page, Mr. Garrett Tillman. Garrett, what's
What's going
up?
on, guys?
Hey man,
How y'all doing?
thanks for doing it. Well, first of all, thanks for helping set us up. We love getting out there and playing some golf. Checking out a new course is always exciting, but I want to start with the context of this agronomy Instagram page. We talked for a second before we went live. Some people might hear the word agronomy and roll their eyes in golf. The weekday weekend warrior, um, but really when you peel it back, it's course conditions, the projects going on, the aerification schedule. The POA's coming in. So tell us a little bit about the how and why you started the page.
So I'm really big on communication. The page actually started out as a YouTube page, believe it or not, and YouTube just became a little too monotonous for me. And we switched over to Instagram to just deliver a message. It's easier than doing an email or something like. It's more fun. It's more youthful. It engages our younger members, and it just gets the word out on whatever process we've got going on. And so it I was met with limited success for a little bit, and then we had I guess you'd have a video that just went super viral. We got over 10 million views on one video about drill and fill process, which is where we have a machine that goes on the greens and takes these huge drill bits and goes down 10, 12 inches. And for whatever reason, I don't understand the algorithm, but that video sent us to the moon. I think it's, you mentioned we've got, I think, 6,500 followers. I think that one video is responsible for like 3,000 of them.
That's how it
But
happens. Trust me.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was intended for our members. It was intended for another form of communication to our membership. And anytime you can get ahead of any issues that we run into on the golf course, if you can get ahead of those with good communication, they're usually not a problem.
And let me stop you for 1 second. So you mentioned, I mean, I didn't, I'm assuming people connected the dots. So this is, so Green Island is private. So I'm sure we'll get,
Yes.
people, most of what we do is cover public. Oh, it's private.
Hmm.
It's blah, blah, blah. But think about that. Like you don't get a lot of clubs, especially Georgia, South Georgia. Um, that is forward thinking enough to actually give you guys the green light to be forward facing on the public front. Like you said, it was intended for membership, but then you get notoriety. I see some of the guys following you that are in the who's who of golf circles. And it's pretty cool, right? Like that they're open to, hey, we're going to allow people to come in and see the course as an outsider, that they're proud of it. And I'm sure look, I know how private clubs work. I'm sure there's still a board and a process
Yes.
and a membership focus. There's an intention
Mhm.
behind it. But that's pretty cool that you guys got the green light and continue to be able to do some of the things you're doing.
Absolutely. A lot of we've got quite a few members that have played a big role in our success. Green Island as a whole, all the members support us. Every single day, I have people stop my staff out on the golf course and tell them thank you. That's really cool. You mentioned, I heard you say intentional earlier. I love that word. And when people stop our staff out on the golf course and say thank you, it's usually something they're talking about, something that happened on Instagram. They're talking about a video, they're asking more questions. Hey, can you explain this in a little more in depth or something like that? So it's spawned a lot of good communication. Um, Usually we're the silent workers behind the scenes that nobody sees, and it's kind of given a little bit of star status to my staff. And I'm very big on uh, you know family and team, and so that's kind of helped play into that and make our staff, the camaraderie among us is excellent.
Yeah. So I mean, that's again cool. Look at us. It's three grown men might get a tissue out after that one, man. But it's what it really is. What it's all about. Because uh, I think we've touched on this topic a little bit when we've had like Ashley Young on from the fields, and you talk
Yep.
about being an owner operator, not really having a superintendent and doing a lot yourself. And then you have the opposite model where it's like a massive public operation and you're at a stream song or abandoned dunes. But then you do have the in between the local club, right? Whether it's semi-private or in your guys' case, private. So your background and experience, what were you doing before Green Island? Did you have another club before this? And what's that kind of process into becoming a quote class A superintendent?
Yeah, so obviously, well, maybe not obviously to a lot of your listeners, but you actually can get a degree in turf.
Mhm.
I've got a degree in golf course operations from Lake City Community College. There's a big one in Tifton called ABAC. That's a big turf school. Um, you get your turf degree, you leave there, you do a few internships. I interned at Charlotte Country Club, Farm Links, Spring Creek Ranch in Memphis. Um, and you do the internships, you go through school, you get out, you become a spray tech. Some guys become second assistants, just depending on, you know, where you're at in your career and your development process. Um, Second assistant, 2 or 3 years. If you develop well, maybe a senior assistant at some point. That's the second, the first guy in command next to the superintendent. In my case, process took about 5 or 6 years. And I was at Golden Ocala before Green Island, down in Ocala, kind of north central Florida. Yeah. And Green Island gave me my break. They took an assistant superintendent. Um, Interviewed well, I guess, well enough for them to want to give me a shot, and they they gave me a shot. A year later, we kind of started to develop some trust, and the rest is history. Now the club, most of the membership really trusts me when I say we need to do something. The answer is not always yes, but it's usually, hey, let's try to make a way. Let's try to figure this out and make a way for it to happen. So, yeah, that's kind of my story. It's been a lot of fun. It's a fun job. It should be illegal. That's how much fun we have. The only thing missing right now is I don't get to bring my dog to work anymore. Unfortunately, she passed away right after I took this job, and so I just haven't got around. I'm doing the dad thing too. I've got a 10-month-old little girl, 5-year-old boy, and 10-year-old girl again. So uh, hopefully we'll have a dog here soon.
Well, dang man, you already have the Instagram success. Not to be insensitive, I lost a dog recently. I know how terrible it is, but man, you throw a dog on that page too.
Yeah,
Holy shit, you guys go,
yeah,
people go crazy for golf dogs. So,
yes,
uh,
yes, they do.
Well, a couple things. We've kind of crossed paths on the way, potentially. I was a stallion as well. Played golf at ABAC for a couple of years before moving on to Athens, and then also lived in Charlotte for 5 years. So love the
Oh
Queen
wow.
City. It's an incredible place. I actually would have stayed there if not for business opportunities. But kind of going back to a couple of comments you made earlier, like going back to like the labor force and managing labor as part of the bigger picture operations. Like a lot of people don't talk about that, and it plays into everything you do, like taking care of your people, making them want to be there. And I think we saw a little bit of that the way you interacted with your assistant, and then I think that's such a big part, man. You got to have people that are staying there for a long time. You got to have some tenure, but that takes a lot of effort for the guy that's leading them, and that's probably the hardest part of the job, right? Like you got to make sure people are happy, they know what they're doing, and you're giving them a lot of time and attention.
Definitely. That is managing people is the hardest part of the job for sure. Managing membership expectations is probably up there along with it. Um, because, at the end of the day, money goes on only so far. So you kind of have to, the budget has to match the expectations
so
closely.
let's pull on that thread a little bit here. I mean, I had that teed up as one of our 4 or 5 anchors, and I wanted it to just come up naturally. So I'm glad you did it. Let's talk about expectations. So I'm kind of, man, I'm going to just full disclosure talk out of both sides of my mouth. On one hand, I'm going to ride with Garrett and the superintendents, and go like golfers are insane, right? Their expectations of perfection are just not realistic to how the world works of limited time, limited resources. You can't control the weather. On the other side, clearly didn't see this at Green Island. Like we said, it truly was in, primo shape, no matter how you measure it. There's so much nonsense going on out there in the golf world too, where golf's expensive. And it's like, I get it. Like, but there's a commensurate return of what the golfer expects. So I kind of, I'll kind of holster some of my thoughts and comments on that, but I want to understand a little bit more. Do you have any examples of golfer expectations or things that like maybe you just wish they understood a little bit more?
Yes. So I'm not going to say where or who,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
did
no,
have a
no, let's get a
member.
member number. Let's get a
Yeah.
member. I'm sure a few members are going to check this out. Let's get a member ID number. Let's dox
There you
them.
go.
No.
Um, so I did have a member come to me at one point, and they said that they wanted the golf course to be like Augusta National, which is an absurd statement.
Yeah.
I told them, well, if we can close 6 months out of the year, and essentially there is a budget, but we all know, I mean, if they want it, they pretty much get it.
Yeah.
Then we'll make it look like Augusta National. And so that is that's an expectation that's just
Yeah.
through the roof and very unattainable. Our membership does a very good job, and there's a few, there's 4 or 5 that obviously this doesn't apply to, but for the most part, our membership does a very good job of, they know, you know, what our budget is and what our limitations are, and we are able to provide, I think we are anyways, in my opinion, we're able to provide a very good product um, within the confines of our budget. I almost wish, and I don't advocate for this, but it would be cool in some scenarios. I kind of wish that when you had a golf club's name, you had the budget above it. This is the golf course's budget. And all of a sudden it would make more sense. I think golfers would oh my gosh, their budget's $1 million more dollars than this golf
Yeah.
course. I went to this golf course expecting those conditions, and well, that's a big number, you know. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously we can't do that. Those things are private. However, I do sometimes wish that that could be known, and I
So,
think it would
but you say that,
squelch a lot of that.
and I do obviously like no a business owner, a club, or even a public owner operator. They're not going to like let you see the book. No one needs to see the profit margin either. But
Right.
if it's profitable, I get that too. But I've always said, even our local club, I was like, man, why don't you guys take a page out of like violent transparency for like on a project by project basis? Everyone's bitching about the cart path on six. Why don't you just say, hey, this is what that project was quoted at. Um, do you really want to do it? Let's put it up to a vote. Okay, is everyone willing?
Right.
Like crowdfunded as your membership. Okay, this is going to cost us $12.50 extra of dues a month for the next 18 months to cover this. And like, you want to do it? Yes or no? And I'm sure there's like unintended consequences to that, but I truly think, just in general, humans crave transparency, and I really think you could get a ton of buy-in. Um, Especially when you got something good going on where you have a very avid or communal membership, or if it's a semi-private club, however it'll work. But yeah, I think there's something to that. Beside, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, is what I'm saying. Of like, it just doesn't have to be like you need to see every line item, but maybe particular things we get some transparency.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it would be a bad thing, to be honest with you. I think there would be more negatives than there would be positives, but the positives would be very interesting to me.
Yeah,
I've always said this: it doesn't matter if they're hitting off cow patties. If they're hitting into really good greens, you're going to get far few
yeah.
complaints than you do otherwise. Greens are number one in my opinion, and I actually probably have a surprising number two is bunkers.
Okay.
So you can go to I have played some really nice golf courses, and the bunkers were trash.
Would you
And
care to name a specific golf course
oh
right
yeah,
now for our
sure.
club?
Let's go.
Yeah, that's all we do is we try to get people pinned in for clips, man. That's all it is.
That one would go viral. The no, it. I mean that I left there going, wow. I mean that was, and obviously I've just told you a lot about my golf game because I played out of a lot of bunkers that day. But Um, we put a lot of emphasis in bunkers at Green Island, um, because when you do get into a bunker, I want it to be first off a pleasant experience, as pleasant as it can possibly be, and more importantly, I want it to be a uniform experience. I want the bunker that's on number three to be the same feel and look as the bunker that's on 14. Consistency is key on greens and the rest of the golf course. When you're putting on number two, I don't want it stimping a 12 and you are putting on 15 and it's stimping a 13 and a half. Um, that's
You
that's
just
not good
opened
either.
up about 6 hours of topics we could go into. So, Jewel, do you want to grab one of those first? Because I got questions on greens and bunkers, but do you want to take one of those?
Well, yeah, I've got so many things I've already written down as y'all are going through there. I literally wrote down the word transparency. Before it was coming out of your mouth the first time. But I think that's one of the things that you and your team do such a great job with, Instagram, to keep your members informed, and not just informed, but educated. Like, I think that's
Yes.
huge. And Goldie, you and I were talking
Yes.
about that the other day. It's like I got a newsletter from my local club, and this was the first time ever. But the super put information in for what October looks like. The bunker stuff that y'all are doing, I was only in one the other day on number 8, left of the green on
Yeah.
8, and it was a wonderful lie. Nice and fluffy, but not too fluffy. I mean, I only hit one bunker shot. I hit it to like 3 inches, and that's my tell. If I can hit a good shot. But no, seriously, they were all
Yeah.
very consistent. Adam, I think you were in one. Adam was in one, and we all
Mhm.
came away. I was like, man, that was really nice. Like it felt like I could go in there and have a good effort at it, and not have
Well,
just an awful lie, or it's too shallow, and your club's bouncing. Like it felt really good in there.
so I think this is where too, like, if I could have a not a contrarian take, but like I could see both sides of that equation on bunker. So I'm wearing. So we talked about it before we went live. I have a Tobacco Road shirt on, right? And they're known that their bunkers are, they're through the green. They're just waste areas. There's no rakes.
Mhm.
They'll rake
Right.
it once in the morning and then whatever it is. So my theory on bunkers, just in general, has been you either need to have the Garrett philosophy of uniformity and put the TLC into them, or you need to go on the opposite side of the spectrum and we got to get rid of rakes and you're just wiping it with a foot, but you can test the surface under it. So if you get an inconsistency, because my old golf sicko mind would maybe go, even though I'm trying to retire that phrase after some recent branding from a big digital media company we don't care for, but the just squirreled, man. I'm not. I'm going to leave that in. You know, this is a public. I'm not going to edit that out. I just wanted to get that off my chest. You know, I could see it to say like, hey, bunkers are supposed to be a hazard by original intent. But what I think Green Island has going for it is the bunker, the design works, right? Like when you're in those bunkers, it's it's not a penalty stroke because they're maintained in a way that gives you a chance to execute a shot, but they're deep. They're really,
Yep.
really intelligently placed, especially when I know you guys kind of said we had maybe an easier pin setup, you know, whatever, it's fine. But you get below the surface of those greens with how firm the surfaces are. Even being a good bunker player and being able to get some height and spin is very, very difficult to just like you weren't just like flopping it up there and it was just going to 2 feet. Like you're trying to hit a spinner, it was a little tough. So yeah, I could see that, but the uniformity makes sense, and they were great bunkers. But the greens, so you said, hey, my number one focus is greens. I don't think that's shocking for most people to hear from a super's perspective because everything in golf, the first question you get is how are the greens? How are the greens? I know it drives some people in the architecture world nuts because people ask the question differently. Like when I say, how are the greens? I'm asking it twofold. I'm asking what were the condition of the greens? And I'm also asking, like, how were the green complexes? Were they interesting?
Right.
Were there pinnable locations? I understand 90% of golfers don't think through that lens, at least not consciously. They're just thinking about like, what did they roll at? Did they bump?
Right.
But for
Right.
you guys, like what percentage of the would you say from the budget from a maintenance perspective goes towards green maintenance?
Chemical and fertilizer, we're probably around 40%
Yeah, is
in
for
just
green.
into
Yeah.
greens. Yes.
Um,
Yes. It's a huge number. It is a big number. And then, we've got a really cool work board called Task Tracker, and it will actually log how much time we've spent in each area of the golf course and the amount of time that we spend on greens, whether it be a cultural practice or rolling or mowing, or we do something that's a bit unique to most clubs, that, and again, we have the benefit of having the manpower to do it. We walk mow our cleanups. We do triplex our greens, but we walk mow the cleanups, and so you don't get that ring, because we have some very tight turns in some of our greens. And if we triplex the cleanups all the time, you get a dead ring inside from that inside tire grinding away. So we spend a ton of time on the greens across the board.
so and what are so seasonally, right? I think we kind of had some thoughts or questions on. So you're in an area that gets 12 months of play, right? So not
Yes.
everyone in the
Yes.
country has that, so it's different. And they have
Right.
single season grasses and then it's shut down and then it's plush for the rest of the year. So what is that challenge like as a super on a course where it's like, okay, golfers are expecting good conditions for 12 months a year. And then maybe some of the pros and cons of like, I know some places overseed and some places don't. Yeah, walk us through a little bit of that logic and some of the challenges.
Yeah, so we do get 12 months of play. It's amazing. I was blown away when I first arrived at Green Island how much play, and I got here in January
Hmm.
of 2019, and I could not believe it. I think 2 weeks in, the high was like 47, and it was a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind, and we had like 60 people playing golf. It was amazing. I
Hell
could
yeah.
not believe it because
Hell yeah, brother.
I don't want to play golf in that weather. I do not. I am a fair weather golfer. Um, but yeah, I mean, it certainly brings about a challenge. I was actually talking to one of my guys a couple days ago about this. During the wintertime, it's actually the greens can get away from you the wrong direction as far as speed goes. You can actually get them rolling way too
Hmm.
fast. And then, at Green Island, all of the greens are have very subtle pitches. The entire green is pitched. And so you lose a lot of pin placements the faster the greens get. And especially during the wintertime, we don't want to lose too many pin placements because obviously we do a 3 pin rotation. So we'll actually cut 3 flags in each green. And then we've got covers that cover 2 of them.
Hmm.
And then we'll just rotate through those three pin placements for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll change them.
You do that a year
And
round or just in the winter?
just in the
Okay.
wintertime. Just in the wintertime. Just when when that old plug is not going to be able to recover.
Yeah.
If we were to change cups every single day like we do normally throughout the growing season, we would have all these,
Yeah.
injured plugs that haven't grown in.
So, what about some of the challenges of like? So, do you guys do any overseed there for the fall or winter?
We actually just overseeded today. So we
Oh,
did our driving range tee and our par threes, and
okay,
that's all we do. We just do the areas that are going to have a high divot pattern, and
okay.
that will actually top dress with a top dressing that has seed impregnated into it. That's basically pre-germinated, and that gives us a nice teeing ground throughout the season, throughout the winter months.
You mentioned when you first started with them, it took about a year before you had you built, developed a trust or a relationship. How much of that kind of artistic mindset that you have as a superintendent of these recommendations of things you would like to see done versus things that actually get done or approved, like what does that process look like, and how do you really go about saying like, hey, like, there's a limited budget, this could be a controversial topic, but we need to move out and do X or Y?
Yeah, I think it I don't want to say heart, but just continuing to hit on something and bringing it up over and over and over again, eventually will push it through. Um, I kind of know where the line is now. I mean, we can certainly try some things um, without approval, and I know where the line is. Where okay, that this is not something that's within my realm to approve. I need to go to my committee chair, who then needs to go to the board and make changes. When it believe it or not, a superintendent can change a lot just with a paint gun. You can go out there. We scout down every spring, and we use that as an opportunity to go out and recontour fairways. We'll cheat some things in, expand some stuff out. I kind of look at how the course played the year prior, and we manipulate a little bit. We'll make an approach on. I can tell you right now, number one, uh, you guys played here. I don't know if you remember hole number one, but I want to have that approach get a little skinnier, cut about 10 feet off both sides of it. Have the fairway still the same width, but at the very end, get it a little bit tighter. And so, you know, I just think the look would look a little bit better, a little more on purpose, I guess. But I've already got some ideas for next year that we're going to do. Russell Henley got involved this year right before that AJGA tournament that we had a few weeks before you guys played, and we actually took number 5, the long par four,
Hmm.
the dog leg left. We made that dog leg is now very intentional. We pushed the dog leg way to the right. So you used to be able to hit that hill on the left side and get a mad bounce, a good kick, and you would be 10 or 15 yards into the rough, and your shot would wind up in the fairway because the whole hole is pitched to the right.
Mm.
Um, you can't hit that shot anymore.
Yeah,
You've
I
got
was
to
gonna say
play the
that
dog
that
leg.
was yeah, that wasn't the experience we had on that hole. So I did, yeah, it was funny because you say number 5, and it's like picking a random hole on a course people don't know, but you kind of teed it up. It's the long par four, right? It's this dog
Right.
leg left, but of course, we had a really nice temperature day, but the one day a hole it rained. It started on four, and it was like the one hole that you wanted it to get in the air and go a little bit because we had
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I mean, Jewel and I were not tooting our own horns, but we hit it pretty far, and we had like 4 irons in. It was just it was
Yes.
dead, and it was a
Yes.
hard ass golf hole with a 4 iron in. But
I don't know. I don't know if we talked about this that day, but if you guys had looked at the fairways, so you've got a light and a dark stripe. We do a 50-50 cut.
mhm,
And if you had, one hole to the next, that 50-50 cut changes based on where you're going to play your shot. So the light stripe is going, the grain's going away from you, the dark stripe's coming to you.
mm.
And on the upside of the hole, like number one, everybody aims on that left side. So we've got the left side, the grain's coming to you.
Oh, okay,
um, that is, I did not reinvent or I guess I did reinvent the wheel because it's already a thing. But Augusta, and many other places, but they actually mow towards the tee
right.
box for a couple reasons. To my knowledge, it makes it a little bit darker,
hmm
and so it's better for TV.
hmm
But also, when those players hit the fairway, they don't get a lot of rollout.
Right.
The ball checks because it's going into the grain.
Yeah. Whoa, man, superintendent. It's like superintendent's revenge, but every single day, just like, oh,
Seriously.
you want to take this safe line? Okay, we're gonna nerf 10 yards of rollout for you.
Right.
Yeah, you wanna
Um,
try to catch this speed slide? But we were sitting on the green on 5. You and I had just turned around and looked like, if we could have gotten this to the left side, gotten over those trees, which is a fairly tall task, like, you could have played it out of that rough. It would have been way better than we were 30 yards back. And I mean, we
so,
both hit
so
Yep.
pretty good balls, but that
And to
made
be
it for
above the
pretty
green.
tough.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty challenging.
Yes.
So what is the so what is it? So okay, you said you're already conscious of like how the hole's going to be playing, so I'm comfortable going down to this line of questioning. Uh, it's not a particularly long course. I know you guys have some
Nope.
extra tournament tees that you can extend a few holes back. We played it as far back as we could on most holes, even ones that weren't set up. We just find a back tee and let it launch. But technology's impact on the course. So I'm not saying every guy's like Jewel and myself and can hit a driver over the pines, but what is in the potential future of looking at, okay, how do you maintain it, the challenge for the scratch golfer while making it playable for the 15 handicap without it just being like, well, let's just get the greens turned up to a 14 and a half. Is there anything that reasonably can be
Right.
done, or is it just finding space to extend some tee boxes?
I think you can. So Mike Young, who is Ashley's father,
Mhm.
owner of the fields, he and I were talking about this. He's helped us with some stuff recently. Um, you can make the golf course longer strategically. So, I don't know if you noticed this, but we have almost no fairway bunkers.
Right.
I mean, they're far and few between out there. And we have zero interior fairway bunkers. The bunkers that we do have are offset into the rough.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's a good way to make the golf course more challenging strategically for a low handicapper. Um, I think that's kind of in the plans. That there's some thought being put to that if we do a renovation at some point in the future. Um, that a properly placed bunker that does not negatively impact, like let's say an 8 handicap or worse, but a low handicapper that does hit it a decent ways, will be affected by that bunker. They have a choice to make.
Right.
I love risk reward golf. You get on a hole and it's, I think in design terms they call it a heroic hole, where you have multiple options for how you're going to play this hole, and the better the option for the reward, the higher the risk. Whereas, what is the par five? Is that Doral that goes around the lake that Bryson tried to drive it across? Is that Doral? Where is that at? I can't remember where that's at.
Yeah, I don't was
But
that or was that Bay Hill? That one? Yeah.
was that Bay Hill?
I
Yeah,
thought
that
he
is Bay
yeah,
Hill.
yeah.
You're right.
Mhm.
You're right. You're right. You're right. So that is an excellent example of that. So there's trajectories basically all the way to the left, and now almost to the green
Right.
because Bryson DeChambeau exists.
Right.
It changes everything. I mean, there's so many lines that you can play. You can play it safe, or you can go for it. Obviously, the
Yeah.
risk is worth the reward if you make it. But I love holes that make you think. When you get on the tee box and you don't just put your tee in the ground and you're sitting there looking and going, well, I want to go. Well, no, maybe I need to just play this. Oh, do I have the right club? I love that. I love when a lot of thinking happens on the tee box.
No, yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
I think you've got some really good opportunity at Green Island too. I mean, you've got
Yep.
some of those risk reward short par fours that you could even push the tee boxes up just a touch and then add in some bunkering that are like, 30, 40 yards out where it could really, give us some tough looks as guys that hit it 280
Yes.
plus. I've
Right.
got a couple in mind. I mean, there's some that back, 15 years ago were really good spots for bunkers, but as the game progresses and speed
Right.
progresses, they've kind of become, like you said, more of a 15 handicap type bunker. So which it'll be really cool to see what if you do decide to do some of that, where you play some of those strategically.
yeah, one of the and again, with the let me put on my narrator voice since if nobody's seen this hole before, but I got the scorecard out here. It's the I said it's the is it the 13th hole. It's kind of a short par
Mm.
4.
Yep.
What's weird is I guess maybe we didn't see where the Southern Open tee was. That might solve some of the problem, but you got an elevated tee box, and if you take it over that pine, it's really, I mean, if you can hit a 300-yard drive, you basically hit it to that green. Now, is it a smart play with how firm it is there and how thick the rough is? Right? No, but that would be one where it has that green. It was the one we took a video of and put it on Instagram from behind the hole. That was such a cool green complex. That was like a hole of like, oh, I wish I went back and played this and didn't launch a drive at it, because you
Right.
really should be hitting like a 60 to 90-yard shot into that green,
Yep.
especially with a front pin, because with the two-tiered slope and the firmness of the greens, like you, you didn't want to be anything near hole high at that where that front pin was. But it'd be a really really fun 60 90-yard shot where it was like total variance of the hole. Like you could see a ton of birdies because guys will hit a good one, but you miss that spot or that tier, bogey and double on a 330-yard hole, and doing it without OB or water, you hardly ever see that anymore. So yeah,
Right.
there's definitely some opportunities there to play within, probably with what you guys have. But also I know it's hard. You can't legislate for 1% of golfers. You got to make it
Sure.
for
That's right.
what the membership average is, and what that looks
Right.
like. Um,
And not only that, we have group play, and we got one group called the EBs, the early birdies.
mhm.
Um, Contrary to the name, they do not play that early in the day, but I think they used to. But those guys use the club they probably play 4 or 5 days a week sometimes. So yeah, so the EBs use the golf course just about more than any other group that we have out here, and so that has to play into the scenario as well. Um, when you're setting the golf course up, you certainly have to keep that in frame of mind. It can't just be for the guys who hit it forever. I know I'm going to have a lot of members who listen to this that are going to argue that's not true because he sets it up really difficult all the time. One of the things that they told me when I came here is that our handicaps don't travel. I think that's got a lot to do with the way the golf course is rated. Um, but
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
But
Look,
we the
I,
golf course plays a little more difficult when I set it up.
I'm not here to make enemies with the memberships, but if we want to talk about handicaps not traveling, look, country club golfers, when you have really, really good conditions and you go to these courses that might be less than perfect, and you're not, yeah, that little chip from 20 yards out's a little harder. The 5 footer that's a 100% make rate for you on the home club's got a little bumpiness to it, but we could do a whole nother segment on improper rating of golf courses ruining the handicap system too. So that
Yep.
definitely
Yep.
that's a pain point. So I want to take attempt at maybe like a little bit of a general rapid fire here. So the first one I want to talk about, like, all right. So when golfers get really mad that like POA has infested their Bermuda greens, like give us the lowdown. Like, how is this a controllable situation? How early in the season do you know it's going to be a problem? And like, what are mitigations that you can reasonably do?
Man, that is the $1 million question. That's something that every superintendent faces. I I don't know the end all be all answer to it. I know that the plan that we have in place, we have followed for a few years now. I'm a knock on wood because I'm setting myself up for failure here, but um, we've been pretty successful at keeping Poe off of our greens. Now, that's not to say the rest of the golf course doesn't suffer, but um, yeah, I mean, it's just it's certainly a money issue. I mean, you've got to, again, we kind of go back to the transparency thing. I mean, it would be nice for people to say, oh, well, this golf course is clean as a whistle, but they have a $2.5 million budget. This golf, my home course that I play all the time, why can't they get it right? Well, they only have a $600,000 budget. And so they have to allocate funds to certain things. And you also have to remember some clubs have to pay astronomical amounts of money for water. Some clubs, us being one of them, are kind of grandfathered into a situation where we've got a 3.5 acre pond that's 13 feet deep. We've got plenty of reserves. It's very rare for us to have water issues. That's not always the case. I mean, some courses pay three, four, $500,000 a year just for water, because they don't have a well, and they don't have a big enough holding pond to get the water from. So I mean, there's it's so subjective. There's so many variables to what can make dollars go here and dollars go there. So
And that might go a little bit back to our transparency piece of,
yeah,
I think with most clubs I've been to, it's just really hard to tell, like, is this a financial issue or is this an effort issue? And I'm sure the answer lays somewhere in between, but also
it does.
when you just when you clearly put up a front that you don't care, it just rubs people the wrong way of just like, it is what it is. You're going to get what you're going to get. I don't think that's necessarily the answer either.
And I think that's where you go back to the communication thing. I don't care what your budget is. I think if you're doing a good job, you don't have to do Instagram. I get it. Not
Well,
everybody's 34 years old and loves to be on the phone, which I don't love to be on the phone. Um, but I mean, just send out an email, just or shoot a mass text to the 20 members that you hear from the most.
yep.
Just good communication. I mean, it's key. It has to happen.
All
I
right.
mean, even send it
So,
by Raven, who cares? Like, we just get
right,
it
yeah,
to us, give
Yeah,
us the information.
yeah. Yeah,
carrier
dude.
pigeon.
Hell yeah. Get you one of them golf dogs. Just get a whole litter of them out there, giving little
Yeah,
notes out. All right, so tee boxes. So why are so many why can't we just get some even tee boxes out there, man? Okay, you get to the nice country club, but is that just another just insane? Is it a level of effort thing? Is it just, can we not do off season projects to just level these things out? Or we're teeing off
yeah. I
side
mean,
slopes everywhere.
yeah. I mean, you're talking. You're. That's a hot button issue here. So we actually just went to three of our tee boxes on our par threes, and we were going to level them in the springtime anyways. And I got to look at them, and they were just so bad, that we just decided to strip them, level them, and we overseeded on dirt, which is probably going to be the best overseed that we've ever had because it doesn't have to compete with Bermuda trying to jump back up before a frost. And you've got really good seed to soil contact, so they're just going to go crazy. But um, yeah, you know, you've got older golf courses over time, those tee boxes, through top dressing, if it's a par three, the problem is exacerbated because you've got filling divots right there in the middle where the majority of the play happens, and you wind up with a turtle's shell, turtle-backed tee boxes, unlevel lies. It's a problem everywhere. It just depends. Again, it goes back. It just depends on the budget. Do you have the manpower, the know-how, and the financial backing to get those tee boxes leveled?
So, how much of it is Bermuda? Like, I wish I knew more about grass. Like, I have a general idea. Okay, this is Ben. I know how it plays. Here's POA. Here's Bermuda. Here's, well, even within Bermuda. Here's Championship. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Is Bermuda just an asshole? Like, why is it harder or easier to maintain? Like, is there, I guess what I really was going to ask, like, are there climates or areas of the country where it's like, man, I wish I was a super there because, like, I could, by the way, this is like probably 1,000% wrong, but are you like in the Midwest and you come out of the freeze and you just have some like bluegrass or ryegrass and the course is just like just naturally pristine, and you don't have to do that much to it compared to. It seems
Oh
like
no.
here you got a ton to do.
Yeah, there is a ton to do. I mean, they all have their battles for sure. It doesn't matter where you're at. I would say
But every course, like in the mid, like I grew up or my family's there, like you would just go to like by the random course and it's just like green as shit the whole year. Where it's like here, you just
yes.
doesn't. It's not that
Yeah.
way. So
Cool season grass for sure. Cool season grass definitely has the color battle one.
yeah.
I'm not gonna argue that. We have our moments, but uh overall, yeah, cool season grass. It stripes better, it's darker. But you've got, there's many it's just like Bermuda, there's many different ones. Bluegrasses, bent grasses, fescues, here we've got Zoysia paspalum, Bermuda. Um, so yeah, I mean
Could you power rank your favorite grasses? I'm not.
I,
That's not a real question, but is there one that you actually really do like for some reason?
So we have Champion Bermuda on greens.
Yeah.
Now, talking specifically about Ultra Dwarfs, in my opinion, Champion is the best. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but it's not just because it's here. We had it up in Memphis and at Spring Creek Ranch, and Champion Bermuda to me, you don't have to work as hard to pull speed out of it. Speed comes a little more naturally to it than Eagle does, in my opinion, with my experiences. There's somebody on the other side of the coin that would totally disagree with me and say I am saying the reverse of what's true. Uh, so in my experience, Champion is actually slower growing than Tiff Eagle. That means that if there's an issue, that Champion actually lags behind, where Eagle will recover faster. But in saying that, that also means that Champion is naturally going to be quicker because it doesn't grow as fast. It's going to hold its speed throughout the day a little bit longer, which I've seen that, I've noticed that. The biggest issue with Champion is that we do have some genetic off types that show themselves, and then we've learned to manage those through growth regulators. Um, but they all eventually, every bit of Bermuda grass will eventually go back to common at some point in the future. It might take 50, 60 years, but
Wow.
it'll all go back to the mother plant at some point.
Whoa. You know, what's funny is like now I just have this deep obsession with asking so many grass specific questions, but it's just like, what's up? Okay. I know you probably got some friends in the business, probably in the central North Georgia area. So a lot of these historic clubs had bent, and then a
Yep.
lot of them have been renovated, and
Yep.
half have, finally gone with Bermuda. But some just still they can't quit it and they put Ben in. I mean, is there a place? Is there do you have a latitude, longitude you could give us to where you just wouldn't recommend bent being your green surface in the southeast? Because it's the hard part is I get it in the winter months, like fall into very early spring, it can be an excellent surface, especially in like central and North Georgia. I guess the other 6 months of the year is a sacrifice because I've gone to those places and they're shaggy and blah and have to be soaking wet to survive in the summer. But any thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
So if you'd asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said basically central Atlanta South, no bent.
Hmm.
Um, the bent grasses they are coming out with nowadays are so good that you are seeing major renovations happen like within the past. Some of them have been completed within the past 6 months, and they are going back with bent. They have an opportunity to go Ultra Dwarf Bermuda, and they are going back to bent because of some of those bent grasses that are just so good. There's one called AU Victory. There's another one called 007, 007
I
XL.
think that double oh
Um,
007's what I feel like that sticks in your head even though I don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about. I think that's
yeah,
so I'm by Idle Hour here in Macon, Georgia, and that was a
yes,
big
I
thing when
believe,
yeah, they were gonna either do
I
everyone
believe.
thought they were gonna do Bermuda, but they went back with bent, and I kinda rolled my eyes at it, but I've played out in the summer months, and it's been solid. It used to not be like that at all.
Well, we've come a long ways with our wetting agents as well. That the chemical community, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But some of those companies are getting so good with wetting agents. I know I'm not going to name them, but a few specific brands that are literally changing people's lives, along with the better cultivars of bentgrass that are more heat tolerant, more drought tolerant. But those wetting agents, and we're getting, as superintendents, we're doing a good job of educating ourselves and getting better at using them, because 15 or 20 years ago, uh, you'd have a 50-50 shot of going to a superintendent and saying, "Do you spray wetting agents on your greens?" Something, I mean, at your higher up clubs, yeah, I guess most of them probably did. But it's just that's become a pretty norm in the industry, that everybody sprays wetting agents nowadays. Helps your greens manipulate water in different directions just based on what the product that you're spraying is.
God, man, it's big science going on. No, it is cool. What about green replacement? So let's focus on Bermuda for a second. What's the real life cycle? Because I've been told at some places that 20 years, 25 years, and too much organic matter is built up under them. They get more difficult to maintain. I guess what's that life cycle look like, and then what happens if you don't address it?
Yeah, so the USGA spec greens, they really we were built in 1996, and that's about the time they got really good at building USGA spec greens properly. I believe the USGA had those specifications out a couple years before that, but contractors and guys weren't necessarily following uh, the protocol
Mhm.
exactly the way they should. And I'm not really sure exactly what happened to change that, or maybe just guys got, started getting better at building the greens. But um, 20 to 25 years is generally the accepted age range. Our greens are actually 29 years old, so we are on borrowed time a little bit. But it also depends on how you maintain them. Um, if you're doing your proper cultural practices, which there's actually a big shift right now in how much is needed and what type is needed. So, you can aerify. Aerifying means a bunch of different things. You can do a solid tine where you're just punching holes and backfilling with sand, or you can actually pull a core, and that's where you guys see the videos of somebody going across with an air fryer, and then there's a bunch of dirt left on top of the green.
Mhm.
There's drill and fill, there's dry jack, there's um, I've actually heard in recent times that hydroject is coming back, which is where they just basically inject water into the greens. There's all kinds of options. But if they're maintained properly, then you can prolong the life of them. It's the substructure of the green, the drainage, um, everything below the surface is what can go wrong. And then, like I said earlier, you've got these genetic anomalies that start to change. You get encroachment onto the greens, and that's more just a greens. That's just a grass. That would just be a grass change out, not necessarily going in and cupping out, coring the entire green, and starting over with new drainage and everything. So that could be a hybrid renovation. That's an option for an older club that has older greens.
Whew, man, I'm almost ashamed of myself that we didn't do like an aerification deep dive earlier in the pod because people, oh man, they hate when their greens are punched. But no, and it is funny too because not all, like you said, not all punches are created equal. I've seen different,
Yep.
but is there really any replacement for? Okay, I'm going to bastardize the terms, but like the full plug, like when you're like you said, when you see the videos and all the organic matter is on the greens, and it's going to be a 4, 6, 8 week recovery. Are some of these
Yep.
other like? Is it one of those things like you need to? So you can rotate that in and out, and you can do other methods, or is it just you got to choose based on the course and the conditions?
So if your listeners don't hear anything else I say, I hope that they take this home. So the USGA makes recommendations on how if you look, you take a 1 square foot, if you were to outline 1 square foot on top of a green, they say for a specific type of fill, a specific type of grass, that you should be affecting this much surface area throughout the year. I believe it's 12 to 15%. My numbers may be way off. I haven't looked at that in a long time. I'm
Uh,
actually going back to college
I
now.
was gonna say
Um,
just cite the number and roll. No one's gonna fact
there you
check
go.
you on here, man.
Um, but there is a certain number that you want to hit on affecting that surface area. Verticutting has a certain that's worth something. Basically, it's that's worth 2.5%. 5/8 inch big aerification tines, that's worth 8%. A solid tine or a needle tine, or there's these things called ninja tines now that they pull a core that's like the size of a smaller than your ink pen. Um, all of those put together, if you can get to that 10, 12, 13% number of affecting the surface area, removing organic material, supplementing with sand, that's worth a number. I don't know. Again, I don't know the statistics and what percentages each one is valued at, but um, that is what you're seeing people do. If greens are really good at a golf course, there's a reason behind it. There's a reason that they're good, and they're good because your superintendent is doing his due diligence. He's educating himself. He's paying attention to the trends. Like I said, there is a little bit of an uprising right now. There is a debate going on whether some of these processes we're doing are really worth it, I guess is the best way to put it. Are there other avenues that we can use to get the same result? But maybe not, maybe, where we take 3 or 4 weeks to recover, maybe we only take 10 to 14 days to recover, and the golfer gets 2 extra weeks out of the year to play golf. At, you know, at the end of the day, I want to maintain an awesome golf course. If you tell me that we don't have to aerify, we're not going to aerify. I don't like punching holes in awesome greens, but we do it because we know that's why they're awesome. That's how we get them to that point. So it definitely paying attention to the science, paying attention to the research. Um, hey, I'm all ears when it comes to maybe pulling the reins back a little bit on the aerification and the cultural practices we do. I'd be all for it. I'm not against that at all.
Well, I
Mm.
think that's one of the most important things too, is like knowing you know your shit, but also that everything's progressing and being willing to
Right.
continue to learn, go back to school if needed, and just continuing to progress in your knowledge that you can take to the course every day.
Yeah, and through the GCSAA, like you mentioned earlier, Class A superintendent, you have to have a couple hoops that you have to jump through. You also have to be a superintendent, I believe, for 3 years. There's like a sliding scale based on how much college you have, how many years of college you have, how many years of experience you have, blah, blah, blah. But the GCSAA does a really good job of providing continuing education. The show down it'll be in Orlando this year. Um, it's insane how much education is available to us, and that's you're always growing. It could be completely backwards from the way we believe things in 25 years. It may be totally different. We never know.
That's man, it's crazy because again, the unsung heroes, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and then people just want to come out and bitch because the the fairway line cut was messed up today, and my ball I caught a bad lie, and I lost my $5 Nassau. So damn you, superintendents. Um,
We Me and my assistant was actually talking about this. We were thinking about a video where we put together a list of everything that can affect, you know, the golf course, between weather and primo rates and just a list. And we were pretty sure that we could get it 50 to 75 deep. Just every little thing that could go wrong, every little thing that we have to pay attention to,
yeah.
and do some sort of a spoof video.
Oh yeah. Well,
Maybe look forward to that coming.
yeah, no, that might get you your next 10 million views, man. That's
Maybe.
it's I might have to
Sure.
steal that video myself. Also, we've been nerding out. Um, we do like talking about the golf, and I don't know if we really did the course justice itself, but we are running up on time here. But I will say, if you've been following us the last year and a half, when we go to any travel course, we always have a flag game. You see a flag behind me, you see a couple flags behind Jewel, and we have a running bet. If anyone breaks par, and usually the cool part about this bet, it's usually the first time we've ever seen the course, so everyone's coming in cold to it. But if anyone breaks par, you buy the guy a flag, and that's like the coolest little token because you earn the flags. I've had a reputation here the last year. It's almost comical. My last 5 opportunities. I don't want to spoil it with an upcoming episode we've had, but I have 5 travel courses in a row where I shot even par on the dot. And Garrett, you got to see me play one hole, and it was the 18th, and I was one under, middle of the fairway. Hit a really nice professional 9 iron in hole high, little pulley, but it was dead hole high. I mean, Garrett, tell the people this thing was not. This thing was as hole high as you could ever ask for, Scotty
Yep.
Scheffler esque.
Yeah, you had a true 3 to 9 putt.
Yeah, and I was putting like a maniac on a positive all day. I think Jules said at that point, I think I had about 24, 25 putts at that
Yep.
point. Par 71, didn't even flirt with a 3 putt. Got the audience up there. The supers are watching me. Oh my God. He was like, he was shocked. He's like, I thought these guys can play golf. I thought they were just a bunch of talking assholes. And I was confident. I'm telling you, for members, if you're putting with your back to the pond and away from it, to kind of back towards the clubhouse, you cannot read that putt is somehow not uphill or slightly downhill, like around the pin. Hit a putt on the high side, felt really good, hit my line perfectly, and then about 4 feet out, I was like, "Holy shit, that's not stopping." And I left myself as a 15-foot comebacker for the par, in which I missed and tapped in for my bogey and my round of 71 par for my fifth round in a row in travel golf of shooting even par. So I'm that guy. I just don't got it in me. I don't have the killer instinct. But
You,
Gary, you could have yelled from up top and saying like, "Hey,
it's quick.
it's quicker than you think." But
So that's my favorite place to stand, and we will whisper to each other what's going to happen before the person makes their putt. And now
and there's
I
nothing
definitely did
gimmicky
not.
about it. Like there's nothing. It's not tricked up or anything. It just has to be so
No,
subtle you
no.
don't pick up
It
on
is
it.
that green is awesome to put on. It's very subtle. It's hard to read, and I certainly did not think you were going to go 15 feet by the pin, but I definitely said if this doesn't go in,
It's gonna
it's going 4 or 5 feet past
Yeah,
the hole.
and it's not just
Um,
4 or 5. It's where that pin was. It was also, even if you had a 6 footer, it was outside the cup, so it wasn't like, oh, you could
yeah,
just take the break out. It had some movement to it. So
I wish I could have grabbed a member for you guys to talk to just for a few minutes and them tell you how mild the pins were that day. Um, we do a thing called
come,
Fierce Friday.
come on,
I don't do it very often because we do get some complaints, but it's a little thing that I took from Jack Krevling, who is my boss down in Florida at Golden Ocala. But we do Fierce Fridays, and we will just set up the course nuclear hard, and our scratch golfers go nuts. They love it. They will come out and give it their best. We've had a couple of guys make a run, but we need to have you guys out on one of those
dude.
Fridays.
I
You will love it.
I love it. I mean, that's because my ego says like, "Nah, man, it ain't going to impact me. I'm too, I'm too good." But no, yeah, it goes to show you too. I mean, you saw it at Bethpage Black at the Ryder Cup. Like, look
Yeah.
how a course is set up. You can take a course that is renowned to be extremely difficult. I'm like, yeah, but well, when you go from 5.5 inch rough to 1.5 inch rough, and you go from firm greens to sponges, like any golf course can be hard or any golf course can be easy. But yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to come get the
Yeah.
full experience, get kicked in the teeth a little. All right, gentlemen, this was fun. I hope people that, first of all, again, thank you to Green Island Country Club. Always a treat. Happy to come back and get our teeth kicked in. Thanks to Garrett and his team for the work they're doing, and then what the work you're doing for golf. Seriously, man, like it's cool stuff. So you don't have to be a golf nerd to appreciate it. Everybody has these same conversations we had. We might have gone a little deeper into the weeds, but no pun intended. So let us heads. As always, we will see you next week. And most importantly, stay plugged. Peace.